Greetings and welcome to the Power Gamer Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Dawson, joined as always by fellow host Johnny Paulus. Johnny, welcome on in. How are you doing this week, sir?
I'm doing good. I had a day gig booked today, and it was outdoor in the market area of downtown Annapolis. So needless to say, got canceled because it rained all day long.
It did.
How about our birds, though, huh?
The Orioles, who probably most people listening could care less about, but me and Johnny, of course, are astute fans whenever they are winning, which they have been doing quite a lot lately. So, yeah, the Orioles,
hottest team in baseball right now, 7 wins in a row. They won today as well.
Looking pretty good. But me as a baseball fan, I also recall that it is ebb and flow, so you can't get too hot, but I am going to enjoy the winning whilst it continues.
Amen.
I see you have Grogu on your microphone tonight, sir.
I do.
And for those unaware, I have begun publishing our shows on YouTube. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. So if you want to see Johnny's little Grogu on his microphone and his other Grogu, he's just pulling Grogus out from places that we'd rather not discuss right now. You can just find us over on YouTube. The channel is the Power Gamer Podcast. It's that simple to find. Just search for that channel and we will pop up and you will see that me and Johnny both have faces for radio.
Come on now. Don't give me that.
No, we look like acceptable dads.
Well, I mean, it's we're just adding to the trend of white dudes with beards hosting podcasts. You know, we're keeping that dream alive.
There is actually a high demand for that. I've heard that there's a shortage of folks of our makeup that do that. So
yeah, there's not enough white guys with beards talking about nerdy shit on the internet. So we have to add to that. That's the goal.
That's correct. Especially, I'm wearing a cliche T-shirt today, sir. I assume you are as well.
I have Green Goblin Funko Pop.
Yes. See, okay. Yeah. I didn't even have to see it to know because that's just how we do it. How we do it over here at the Power Gamer Podcast. Speaking of which, it is episode 74 of the Power Gamer Podcast. We are rolling right along as we normally do. By having our first stop be discussing what we have been playing this past week. Johnny, I'm going to kick the ball over to you first to get us started here.
Sure.
It appears that you've been playing more than just one game, so I'm curious to hear what you've been up to, sir. What are you playing this week?
Still playing primarily Red Dead Redemption 2. I'm at about the 40% mark, according to when I saved the game. I'm pretty deep into chapter 3, dealing with the drama of the Braithwaites and what's the other family's name?
That other family.
Yeah, whatever the other family is. Anyway, dealing with that drama and still playing a lot of poker. And I've now started hunting.
In the game.
Yes, in the game.
Sorry.
I've also started hunting the legendary animals to try to get those trinkets. Once I figured out how powerful those were, it's become a little bit of a mission of mine to every time I sit down to play it, I try to find at least one or two of them and get them knocked out. But loving the game. I'm glad you forced me to. Well, you didn't force me, but you just kept telling me it's the greatest game of all time. Maybe you should play it.
Gentle nudges.
But no, I'm really enjoying it. I'm glad that it sunk its teeth in me this time. I'm very hooked on it. However, the other day I was sitting on the couch. The PlayStation 5 controller was sitting there next to me, and I it was a new month, so I wanted to make sure I downloaded the new July games for the kids. And after I'd done that, I was like, you know what? Demon's Souls is done installing. Let me fire it up. Let me see how it looks.
Looks great.
I was stunned at how gorgeous this game is. It is almost a joke how poorly Elden Ring looks compared to the Demon's Souls remake.
It's one of the best looking games on the console.
It is. And I am not exaggerating when I say after you see what Demon Souls looks like, you can say whatever you want about character design, world design, immersion, whatever from Elden Rings. Game looks like hot ass compared to what Demon Souls Remake looks like.
Yes.
Graphically, it is so light years beyond. But I'm digging it. I'm digging the environment. It doesn't seem to be too hard. I'm sure it's going to get there. But a lot of the Dark Souls games, all 3 of the Dark Souls games that I've tried to play, about 10 minutes in, I meet the mollywop that just like goes, you're not ready to play this game. And Demon Souls has not done that to me yet. I've kind of progressed a little bit. I got to that first boss that you're supposed to die to, and then you go into the Underrealm, and I've done some exploring there. And it's not nearly as brutal so far as the Dark Souls games are. I hear you chuckling.
So yeah, anyone listening that's played this game understands that Johnny hasn't actually started the game yet.
Right.
Based on that information.
No, I have not played much, but I did sit down. I played it. I created my character, played it for maybe an hour or two.
Mm-hmm.
So is it harder than Dark Souls?
Is it harder than Elden Ring? Oh yeah, big time.
Oh, I'm sure it's harder than Elden Ring. I sort of saw that coming.
Is it harder than Dark Souls? Depends on which game you're talking about.
Right.
You can't play it like Dark Souls, but then again, you don't really have a background.
Right.
With the Dark Souls, you can't play it like Elden Ring. There is no jumping in this game.
Yeah, no, I've already figured out that the parry and then get the stun attack is kind of the key to this game.
The weight system's also very different.
Right.
And it's very important that you pick a character that can use a healing spell or something of that sort.
Okay.
Because you cannot buy, well, you can for an exorbitant cost. There's no potions. You don't get the flasks. And one of your favorite things in a game is when you use shit, you die and then it doesn't come back.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you need to be able to heal yourself in Demon Souls. If you start building a character and you forget to do that right at the start, you're fucked. You just fucking start over.
Right.
Which I've done before. But the game isn't brutal. It's just frustrating is the right word. But it's not as frustrating as the original release of it. You'll get through the first boss pretty easily. You'll probably get through the second and third bosses pretty easily as well.
Okay.
But yeah, it does. It's good to kind of read a beginner's guide because the things that you learn from Elden Ring don't necessarily translate.
Got it.
Perfectly to Demon Souls. So
got it. Okay.
Just something to keep in mind.
But yeah, no, I just wanted to shout out how fucking gorgeous that game is. Good Lord. I mean, it is stunning.
Beautiful game. Yeah, beautiful game.
That's it for me though. Primarily Red Dead with a couple hours of Demon Souls.
Well, very good. As per usual, I've been a lot busier than Johnny and playing a wider variety of stuff. But this just sort of seems par for the course. So 2080 translated into computer, things are good. Assetto Corsa Competizione though is still like I can get it running good. But I can tell that the 4-core processor that I have in this game aren't playing nice.
Oh, so the CPU is the bottleneck.
I think so. I can get it to hold pretty fucking firm at like 75, 80 frames per second.
Yeah.
But trying to go, between, it just doesn't look smooth.
Well, some games just don't play well. Some games are just optimized weird. One way you could test to see if it is your CPU is the bottleneck is run your task manager on a second monitor and see where your CPU is. When you're playing the game, if your CPU is like at 90 or 100 the whole time, then that might be the issue. But if in most of the time when you're gaming, your CPU is at like 5%, 10%.
Yeah. No, this is a CPU heavy game. It's notorious for being that way.
Got it.
So, it's fine. I definitely have it to where it is perfectly playable. So
right. Good.
I've been playing it online a whole bunch, and things are fine. In stark contrast, though, I've still been playing Gran Turismo 7. And herein lies, I guess, what would be an interesting conversation to have. And that is, Assetto Corsa Competizione is a popular game, not because it's accessible, not because it runs well, but it's a popular game because it takes the most popular series of cars in sim racing, which is the GT3 class that you see primarily in Europe. You do see here in the United States as well in IMSA car racing, but primarily it's a European thing. And it's very realistic, and it's not iRacing. You don't have to pay a fucking king's ransom to play this game. So that's why Assetto Corsa Competizione is popular. It also was released on consoles. You can play it on PS4 if you don't mind being locked at 30 frames per second. You can play it on PS5. It was re-released there at 60 frames per second. But then in stark contrast, you have Gran Turismo 7, which on my PS4 runs between 50 and 60 frames per second at all times. Buttery smooth. And it's a great game. I mean, it really is. Since they fixed the economy on it, it's kind of hard to knock it, really. So I've almost finished I guess what you would call the baked-in campaign of Gran Turismo 7. I want to roll credits on it, so to speak, before I really start like getting back into sport mode and back into competition. Back in Gran Turismo Sport, I was one of the S-rank drivers. I was a top-rated Ferrari driver for a season. I went hard in the paint on Gran Turismo 7.
Sure sounds like it. God damn.
Gran Turismo Sport for a while. So, yeah, I plan to maybe... I've been kind of bouncing between both to go, okay, well, which one do I want to take more seriously? Do I want to take Assetto Corsa Competizione more seriously, or do I want to take Gran Turismo more seriously? And I'm beginning to lean back towards Gran Turismo just because it's so much easier to tolerate their economy and their system and their gaming interface and things.
Well, and I'm sure that it probably runs like an absolute dream on a PS5. I have to assume.
My gosh, it looks insane on PS5. But
I mean, Sony don't play with first party titles, man. They just don't.
Yeah, and like if I wanted to, my sim rig's next to me, my PS5 is behind me. Like if I was really like, I want to play it on my PS5, I could either get long cables to run to it, or I could just pick the fucking thing up and set it over here. I already have all the cables here from my PS4. It's not a big deal, but I do like the convenience of just leaving everything alone. So that's why I've been playing it on my PS4, and I also bought like the crazy expensive version of the game where I got a digital code for the PS4 and a disc for the PS5, which I'm like perfect, because if I ever get a second PS5 and like Gran Turismo is something I'm doing every day, then there you go. So that's my racing roundup for this week. Well, kind of, at least things that go on my sim rig. I've been playing a lot of goddamn Nintendo Switch lately. It's mainly Octopath Traveler's fault, which I guess we'll touch on that. I'm still playing Octopath Traveler. I'm much closer to the end now. I'm on the last leg of the chapter 3 shenanigans.
Okay.
I'm doing Primrose. She was my last chapter 3 person to do, and each character has 4 chapters, basically, is how the game's laid out. So
any changes in your opinion of the game as you get further in?
No, it's the right balance of challenge. Each little story is kind of like a comic book in each character's series, so to speak. So is it brutally fucking long? Yeah. I've been playing this game for over a month now.
It's been a minute for sure. Yeah.
I've cracked the 50-hour mark on it. It's a brutally fucking long game. But it is really good. So, it's one of the best sprite style JRPGs I've played. So I really, really am enjoying it and think it's great. But I'll probably save my comments for I imagine I should have it done by the next time we sit and do this, hopefully.
Okay.
We'll see. So some more interesting things that I've been playing that were new in the past week. I am living on this fucking Nintendo store and just looking at all the shit every time. Like I take a break from Octopath and this game popped up and it's called Nin Cats. All right. And basically what Nin Cats is it's a 2D sprite based platformer where you play a little like 16-bit style cat in a ninja suit, whatever you call those. And you just have to get from point A to point B in a level. So it seems pretty straightforward. But the thing with Nin Cats is it's really easy for about 5 minutes, and then it turns into the most terrifyingly difficult game you've ever played in your life. I mean, they're killing this cat fucking hundreds and hundreds of times. And I like that as I said that, he already put his head back down, but I think I saw Thrawn pop his head up when I said killing cats. I just saw his little green eyes over your left shoulder. He's on the couch.
Sam.
But so people on YouTube, you can see him pop up in fear when I talked about killing cats.
You've been talking about this stupid Nin Cats game for 3 days now.
God, dude, it is so fucking hard. I'm not kidding, man. Like,
dude, so when I was streaming, by the way, shout out to my Twitch stream, twitch.tv/hellhero, H3LL, I was streaming and Mike starts telling me about Nin Cats, right? And maybe like 2 hours later, he says, I'm fairly certain that this game was made completely to just troll parents.
yeah.
So that, like, a parent will buy this for their kid, and then the kid will break their Nintendo Switch 30 minutes later.
That's what this game is for. If you handed this game to a child, right? And it's funny because, like, it's easy just long enough for the parent to go, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, you can handle this.
And then it just turns into, like, there's fucking buzzsaws. And the weird thing with Nin Cats is, like, the hit detection box is egregiously obtuse.
Oof.
And therein lies some of the fun of the game, is trying to figure out, okay, what's the fucking hitbox? Because, like, if you sneeze on a spike, it kills you. It's fucking crazy. So definitely, if you want to play like one of the hardest platformers ever fucking made, check out Nin Cats. It is punishingly difficult. And you'll feel a true sense of achievement every time that you finish a level. So each level is sort of like a Super Mario World style level, where you have to do like 9 or 10 runs or whatever to get to the next world. And I've made it to the end of world 3 or 4. So I'm pretty deep in the game. I've taken my lickings. I do intend to beat this. The next game came out yesterday, July 8th. And this game is a lot less of a dick grinder. That game is Formula Bit Racing DX, which is another impossibly cheap game on the Switch. Now, Formula Bit Racing DX is cool because it is a super big hat tip to one of my favorite old Nintendo series called RC Pro-Am.
Oh, dude, yeah, I just pulled it up on YouTube. This is totally RC Pro-Am.
And it's what's great about it is the driving mechanics are spot on for someone like me that understands like real driving mechanics. You do need to use your brakes in this game. You cannot just hold the fucking accelerator and win races in this. It is not that straightforward. So what I also really liked about it, the controls are relatively simple. You have gas, brake, a boost button, and then you have a view change button. So you can actually go from the RC Pro-Am view to a third person behind the car view, which is really tight in this game and what I've been playing it on. Then it also goes to like the Micro Machines games. If you remember that, the bird's eye view.
Oh, yeah.
So you can switch between all three views because it's a rendered 3D game.
Wow, that's cool.
And this game is dirt cheap. What is it, like $5 or something? So Formula Bit Racing DX Each race is only three laps long. So it's super, super quick to sit down and play, or just if you want to kill a few hours in it, it's no problem. To get the check mark next to a level, you just have to take first place, but you can play every level in the game on either of the difficulties just right out of the box. So like there's no, you have to win to try all the different, just you can sit down and play the whole. It's totally an old school style racer game. This is great for kids. So if you have little ones, you want to get them something new to chew on. That's pretty easy. It's a pretty good introduction to racing games. Very reminiscent of RC Pro-Am without some of the most annoying sound effects ever. RC Pro-Am, the fucking rockets in that game. Oh my God.
Yeah.
But Formula Bit Racing is more just of a straightforward racing game with formula cars. It's really pretty. It's really well done. I've already finished the game on normal. I did so in about an hour. So I'm going to do it on hard now and see if I can't get some credits to roll. It has a little progress tracker at the bottom in the menu. So when I beat the game on normal, it says 50% done. So I'm assuming I go back through, do everything on hard, boom, 100%. If I get credits, not, but if I do or don't, I'll count it as a completed game for this year. So Formula Bit Racing DX, get it on your Switch, give it to your kids. Probably for kids, you probably kill a week with something like this. So it is a cool game. Well, Johnny, that wraps up what you and I both have been playing this week. Let's keep it moving and talk about a couple of games that we've had a lot to say about here on the podcast. And directly or indirectly, they're both in the news. So there's been much discussion this year about God of War Ragnarok and whether or not it would actually be coming out this year, or is it being delayed because we've gone so much time. You know, it's July now. We hadn't gotten a release date. Well, finally, we have a release date for the new God of War Ragnarok game. Kind of disappointing, though. It just sort of came out that there's a release date. There was no big shindig or to do about it. It just sort of, well, here you go. Here's a release date. So,
well, they released a new trailer, but it wasn't.
Yeah, but you'd expect it to be like on one of Sony's showcases or something like that. And, certainly that was not the case. It was just, here's a trailer. Here's some more God of War. PS
pre-orders are out next week. Yeah.
Yep. Pre-orders go live July 15th. And the game itself is being released on November 9th. And it will be coming out for both PS4 and PS5. Now, November 9th is sort of an interesting date because November 9th is a Wednesday. So God of War Ragnarok will be getting a Wednesday release.
Strange.
It is strange. Sony is a big champ of Friday releases, but nevertheless, Wednesday, November 9th is when God of War Ragnarok shall grace us with its presence. I am happy that we've finally gotten a release date. That means I'm ready to hear about the first delay. That's sort of my take on this.
Yeah.
And hopefully that's not the case. But I'm ready. Well, I'm ready if that is.
I think they're going to make release. I mean, because this game has looked done for 2 years now.
It's a long time coming.
I mean, I haven't seen footage of this game where you're like, well, this is a little while off. Like, I mean, it's looked absolutely balls to the wall, incredible from day one.
It's no Sonic Frontiers.
And we're back.
I'm gonna be using that one a lot more often, folks. just because I'm
I mean, dude, Ragnarok for anybody that didn't play the last God of War game, Don't do what I did. Don't sleep on that game. I slept on that game for like 2-3 years. And when I finally went through and played it, I mean, it's probably in my top 5. It's definitely in my top 10. I mean, it's absolutely mind-blowingly incredible. It is a absolutely wonderful game.
It was good. Yeah.
And I am incredibly hooked for the next one. That's a day one purchase. I'll be streaming it that night, 100%.
Yeah, it is good. And we finally know in the next one, and the last one in the series for that matter. I know we've talked about this here before, but just a quick reminder: this is not a trilogy or anything like that. Sony has already said that this is it. That this will wrap this story from God of War. So
this section of the story, yes, I do think they're gonna do another title of another mythology.
Yeah, but this is the end of Norse.
Correct.
So,
correct.
Now, what's interesting here is almost in reaction to the announcement of the release date of God of War Ragnarok, a short time thereafter, we get another announcement regarding the game, the much anticipated game, new IP, Forspoken. And basically, Forspoken, which was originally supposed to come out in May of this year, May 25th, got pushed back to October 11th.
Yeah.
So less than a month away from the God of War Ragnarok release date. Well, now it has been pushed back to January 24th. So it's going to cross over into the 2023 line. I have my personal takes on this, but I'm just going to read what Luminous Productions said and let their words speak, I guess, loudly for the situation and maybe help explain why this delay has happened. So directly from Luminous, they state, quote, as a result of ongoing discussions with key partners, we have made the strategic decision to move the launch date of Forspoken to January 24th, 2023. All game elements are now complete, and development is in its final polishing phase. We would like to thank you for your continued support and patience on this journey. Your excitement for the game inspires us every day, and we cannot wait to share more about Forspoken with you late this summer. So a couple of key things to kind of read between the lines here, at least in my opinion, are these lines. That we've made the strategic decision to move the launch.
Yeah. As a result of ongoing discussions with key partners. Gee, I wonder who the key partners could be.
Do you think it's Santa Monica? Well, then also they say that the game elements are complete. It's in its final polishing phase. So if the game is done and it's in its final polishing phase, it sounds more or less like it was perfectly ready to come out on October 11th.
Yep.
However, I think that once we got our release date for God of War Ragnarok and it's right on top of Forspoken, it doesn't take a genius over at Sony to say, well, we're sort of going to cannibalize ourselves here, having two $70 games come out right on top of one another.
Yep.
Why don't we push one of these back? And if you look at the two titles, I think if you push back God of War Ragnarok, people are going to lose their fucking minds because they've been saying and pounding this drum for years that this game was going to come out no later than 2022. And I think you can get away a lot cleaner with pushing back Forspoken. I mean, obviously, there's not nearly as much buzz about Forspoken as there is God of War, even though me personally, I'm more excited to play Forspoken than I am to play God of War Ragnarok. Now, even Johnny here might disagree with me on that, but I'm more interested in the new IP. I want to see what's new. I don't want the, recycle, here's the next chapter.
Yeah.
I want the new fucking thing. And that's what Forspoken is to me. It's a brand new game.
I'm incredibly excited for Forspoken, but Sony has to look at this is the holiday season coming up, and they need a game to move consoles, and Forspoken ain't going to do it. Forspoken is not going to. God of War is going to be like, Mom, I need a PS5 this Christmas.
Correct.
I got to play the new God of War.
Well, and here's the thing, though. You don't need a PS5 for it. And that's what's important, though, is, PS5s still aren't a matter of walking into Walmart and grabbing one off the shelf, checking out, and going home. It's still gymnastics for a lot of people to get them. So what's great for Sony here, the huge win is that this game is still a dual generation release. And I mean, to me, and Johnny, you can cut me off to the legs here if you don't agree.
Okay.
But I think it makes perfect sense that this game is also a PS4 game. It was in development for such a long time. Obviously, a lot of the dev cycle for it is for PS4, even though it's going to be capped, I would assume, at 30 frames per second. The game was built for last gen's hardware. It's just taken a while to come out. So incidentally, it's coming out on PS5. So I think it's a PS4 game that's going to run better on PS5, but end of the day, it's a fucking PS4 game.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, forgive our listeners that listen every single week. Forgive me, because I've made this rant before. I think as we go forward into new consoles, now that they're basically all PC based, every new console is going to be, it's going to be the version 2.5. It's not going to be the light year jump. So because of that, it's going to become easier and easier and easier for these companies to continue to dual release. I think when they announce Nintendo Switch 2 or whatever, and then they announce the new Mario and they announce the new Zelda and they announce the new whatever, they're going to come out on both consoles for a while, I think, because there's too many Switches out there in the world. There's too many PS4s out there in the world. There's too many Xbox Ones out there in the world.
Right.
So where if you can make the game for both and it runs great on both, it just looks better on the new. Why wouldn't you? But I mean, we are eventually going to reach a point where we have to jump into next gen. We need the new technology. Specifically, the faster hard drives is really the biggest thing with the new consoles. You're going to reach a point where the amount of data that you're streaming at the speed you need it to stream, an old school, hard drive is just not going to cut it.
Yeah. So I think this is the right decision. Obviously.
I agree.
If Forspoken had just been able to come out in May, I think that would have been ideal.
Yeah.
But end of the day, Forspoken is the one you can boot. God of War, not so much. So,
yep, fully agree.
We will be looking forward to checking out Forspoken on January 24th of next year. Now, January 24th is a Tuesday. So that will be a Tuesday release for Sony.
That's weird.
Indeed.
Tuesdays and Wednesdays.
Speaking of new games, let's continue talking about new games. And the next one we're going to talk about comes from our good friends at the Canadian Cash Register Company. I'm sorry, I mean Ubisoft, and that is of course Skull and Bones, which we've known about for an incredibly long amount of time. So Skull and Bones has finally gotten its proper announcement, its proper release date, etc. And we'll finally, be able to play it this year at some point. So that in and of itself is exciting.
Yeah.
We got quite a lot of info about Skull and Bones dropped on us all at once, almost too much at once, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So Skull and Bones is going to be coming out basically lockstep with God of War. Skull and Bones is coming out November 8th of this year. So within 2 days, we will have Skull and Bones and God of War on our calendars to play this year. So, Johnny, first impressions Skull and Bones are going to be a lot to break down here. So I kind of have some talking points, and I'm not going to beat around the bush here. I've basically stolen my talking points from IGN, so credit to them where credit is due. But they put out a fairly comprehensive rundown of the need-to-knows, Matt Purslow did, of IGN at least, that relate to Skull and Bones. So credit to them, but let's discuss what we've learned about this game. So I guess before we dig into the fat, and I mean truly, let's save all the talking points for as we dig into it, the different things about the campaign and advancement system. So let's save all that. But just what's your overall first impression of this game now that we've seen a lot of gameplay trailers and we've kind of gotten the spiel, so to speak? What's your overall impression on Skull and Bones, Johnny?
I think it looks really fun. And I'm actually really surprised with the graphics. I think the graphics are gorgeous. These character models are a step above Valhalla.
Yeah,
in my opinion. I mean, even just the cinematics, and I know they showed us a lot of cinematics with a little bit of gameplay, but even still, those cinematics, those face models on these characters, it looks better than Valhalla. I didn't see that on my bingo card this year, that Ubisoft was going to release a pirate game with graphics this good. I think there's room for another online pirate game like Sea of Thieves. I think there's room for another one. It's not, a lot of times when you're covering video game news, it's a lot of, oh, look, it's another battle royale. Oh, look, it's another MOBA. But, you tell me another online pirate game, I'm like, cool. I'm down for another pirate game, I think there's room for it.
Yeah, my first impression was this is something that I want to play.
Yeah, it looks like a lot of fun.
Sea of Thieves has never really had that for me when I watch it. And like, man, it looks kind of cartoony in a way that doesn't really appeal to me. I know it's Rare, and I love Rare and Rare's history.
Same.
But I've watched probably 20, 30 hours of other people streaming the game, and I've more or less put together that, okay, it's cool, but yeah, it's not for me.
Same.
But from what I saw of this game, I said, okay, this looks more like something that's for me, because one of the main things that I require from a game is that I don't have to play it with anybody else. I don't mind playing games with other people. Obviously, God, we really need to get back on this. My Halo rampage with Mandy. Vacations and my business trips and things really fucked up our progress on that. We've got Halo 5 to take down, then we're done. I don't mind playing games with other people, but I do not want to have to schedule time to play a game with someone at all. And that's kind of been my issue with Sea of Thieves, is like, it feels like you need to be playing that game with other people. And I don't have room in my life for scheduling time to play games with other people. I just don't. I got all of that out of my system in WoW.
Yeah, you get that chance to break away. You want a game. You don't want to, like, hey, you on? It's not like it used to be. When you're younger, you're in your 20s, you hop on, all your boys are on. Go play Sea of Thieves. It's fine.
But so this looks like something more up my alley. So let's talk about what we learned some, Johnny. So first off, the first thing they come out and tell us is that there's no campaign. There's zero campaign. So the direct quote is that it's definitely not a storyline driven game. You don't finish Skull and Bones and have credits and cutscenes at the end. It's something we want to perpetuate as a live game for years and years to come. Johnny, what are your thoughts on there not being any campaign in Skull and Bones? Do you think that's worded the best way? I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's a weird way to word it. I mean, because there has to be something story related, right? There has to be some underlying big bad or the bad gang of pirates or whatever, the British Navy. I don't know who the villain is going to be, but there should be some kind of villain, I would think. I mean, I understand there's not a, okay, I'm in the first act, I'm in the third act, I rolled credits. Like, I get that. But I don't know. I mean, I understand there's no single player campaign, but I still think there has to be something story-wise to get you into it, right?
Absolutely.
Something.
I mean, something they explained pretty in depth was that there's lots of hubs where you meet different folks that want you to go do different jobs. They're called bounties.
Right.
And each one of them is like this spiraling mission, and you learn more about the world that you're in and the different characters and things. So it's not delivered in a traditional means, but that makes sense considering this is a live service game. A lot of people could argue that that's the same way that Destiny delivers its story.
Yeah.
So it's I don't know that they needed to come out and state it as though there's no campaign, because there certainly is a ton of campaigns within it, but they're smaller. There isn't this big end game. It's not supposed to be, though. It's a live service game. So,
yep.
Basically, from what I gathered is you're going to be going out doing missions and finding treasure and things and outfitting your ship. So. But yeah, so no traditional Act 1, Act 2, I guess is what's meant there. Johnny, is that a deal breaker for you, or do you think that's fine for this kind of game?
No, it's not a deal breaker for me. We'll get deeper into the conversation. My concern is, will the online community support this game?
Sea of Thieves doesn't have a campaign by traditional standards, does it?
No.
So it's really not any different than that.
No, it's not.
Okay. So next up, the activities that there are. So, in Skull and Bones, we already mentioned the bounties. I guess where it takes place is important. It takes place in the Indian Ocean. So you'll be on the coast of like Africa and India, that kind of part of the world. The activities of the game are pirate related. You're basically trying to build your infamy in this game by completing bounties and activities successfully. So it sounds like your usual pirate stuff, hidden islands, fighting enemies, finding treasure, etc. One of the things I thought was interesting, and I'm kind of curious to see how this plays out, is the trade routes part of this game. So Johnny, did you have any takeaways here with the different activities that are presented in this game? I guess crafting is another big one, but
yeah, I mean, no, I gotta feel like there's a lot to do, which is good, and that's how you get hooked on an online game like this. The death of a game like this is when there's nothing to do. You play it for a week or two, and this is the main thing I butt heads with Destiny is like, I got tired of going, here's my $40. And then a week later, I've done everything.
Right.
And it's just like, oh, so I just keep doing that thing that I did this week. I'm just going to keep doing that for the next 6 months. I think I'm good. So if there's a lot of things to do and I can, find new trade routes and I can work on crafting this thing and I can work on finding the materials to craft this other thing that I want to make. And I don't know. I mean, it sounds like there's a decent amount of things to do. Which was actually an issue I had with Sea of Thieves. With Sea of Thieves, it is just kind of go to that island, pick up the chest, put it on your boat, get it back safely. Oh no, somebody attacked. Oh no, there's a sea monster. And I also do recognize the fact I haven't played Sea of Thieves in a while, and I know they've had several expansions, so I'm sure
some of the expansions have really like in-depth story and stuff. Like they did this whole like Pirates of the Caribbean epic not too long ago. That was really cool. So.
Right, so I am recognizing the fact that I'm not trying to shit on Sea of Thieves. I haven't played it in a very long time. I'm sure there's a lot more to do now. But, it's ultimately why I lost interest in the game, however many years ago.
Sea of Thieves is still 99% of, hey, let's go do this awesome thing, and then some guy griefs you from another boat.
Yeah.
That's Sea of Thieves.
Yep.
So one of the interesting things that they kept talking about, and this word really stuck out because it seems out of place, juxtaposed to the whole pirate world. But they keep talking about becoming a, quote, pirate kingpin. A pirate kingpin. So whenever I hear kingpin, I do think of criminals, but I don't think of pirates necessarily.
No.
But they keep talking about becoming a pirate kingpin. So apparently the whole point of the game is to do such. Gain your infamy to a level of where you become a pirate kingpin. So basically they've said that in becoming this kingpin character, you can do so completely by yourself. So cool, I'm still in. I like playing solo. And they also say that anyone that plays the game with any kind of regularity will eventually become a pirate kingpin. So it's not like some crazy hard thing to pull off and become. But kind of when you get there, that kind of opens up an end game to Skull and Bones. So I think the campaign, if we want to call it that, is becoming the kingpin, like starting out with nothing and working your way up to where you are a pirate. I fucking hate this word. Pirate kingpin. I keep thinking of Wilson Fisk, it's like with an eye patch on a boat.
Yar, let's get Spider-Man.
I can't break that image from my mind. I guess there's not really a whole lot to say beyond that, Johnny. Anything else needs being said there? Or?
Yeah, no, I mean, my impression when I heard the description of that, I had the exact same thought you did it, and what it connected me to was World of Warcraft. I'm like, oh, becoming a pirate kingpin is like hitting level 60 in the original World of Warcraft. Right. It's like, cool, you did it, you did all the work. Now here's the other game that will continue on.
Now the game begins.
Now the game really begins. Yeah. So that's kind of the impression that I got. It sounds like there's going to be a decent amount of content to get you there. And then once you're there, as they said, what did they put it? They said it'll open up the opportunity to be more competitive. So I think that's when maybe the PvP and having the better cannons, having the better ship, having the crew with the better morale is going to increase your chances of going toe-to-toe against another pirate kingpin.
Yeah, so along the way, they discuss some of the perils that you will face on your quest of kingpindom. One of the ones I thought was cool was, and I don't know how much this will actually play into the game, but your crew are basically a giant angry Tamagotchi, and you need to feed them or they will mutiny against you. So you basically are having to manage an entire crew of pirates, and as well the boat itself, in order to survive in this game. Now, I think one of the things that I thought was interesting with this is that the crew and the ship are definitely two separate components, although they work as one. But there's sort of a laissez-faire presentation, particularly to the crew, where you don't really control what they do. I guess one of the key marks where I saw this was when, I'm going to compare this game to Assassin's Creed, because obviously this is Black Flag sort of fleshed out a little bit more, or Odyssey. So like when you raid another boat, right? They showed this a few times in the trailers, and it looks like your crew just sort of like goes through an animation and takes the shit from the boat. Whereas in an AC game, you're like, all right, it's time to get out my assassin things and go party over on this other boat. So there's not like this component of the game that was like Assassin's Creed, where like your pirate jumps off the boat and starts kicking some ass. You sort of just send your scallywags over to kick some ass and take some treasure. So John, I guess anything regarding the ship and the crew and this kind of idea of having to Tamagotchi your crew so they don't mutiny you off the boat?
Well, one of the things that they mentioned in this portion of their video and in their report is saying that you start with nothing. You have to craft your own spear. You have to get your own boat. You have to. And I've ranted and raved about how much I hate survival games. But here's the thing: the reason why I hate survival games is the permadeath, persistent world aspect of it. Right? If I build a big badass base in Rust or in Ark, it's not safe when I'm not playing the game.
Very true.
So that is why I don't like survival games. But if you give me a game where I start with nothing and I'm building and now I have my crew and now I have a better ship and like I'm progressing through the game, and when I log off, I'm not at risk of losing those things, that's a game I could very easily get hooked on. But as far as the issues, what you were mentioning with like the crewmates and mutiny and all that, I think one of the big reasons why you and I are excited about this game is because of Black Flag. I mean, this is something that they've shown they can do very well. And, you know, way back when I saw Sea of Thieves trailer, when it was first coming out, I was like, man, about time we get an online multiplayer pirate game. Let's go. And there wasn't enough meat on the bones for me back then. Whereas this, I'm like, dude,
this is,
if I can have a crew and quest on my own, and
this is like where
great.
Your buds are each rolling up in their own fucking ship, which is cool.
Yeah.
Everyone's a captain. So,
yep.
Next part I just kind of want to glaze over because it's whatever. There's obviously some build routes of how you build your ship, whether you build like a cargo ship or you build like a rolling fucking fortress, or something that can carry a lot of cargo. There's a lot of different weapons you can craft and things like that. So like if you want to have a fucking flamethrower on your pirate ship, guess what? You can have a flamethrower on your pirate ship. That's kind of cool. I want to have a flamethrower.
And it looks dope.
It looks fucking evil. So that all being said, I thought one of the coolest things they showed was the land sections where your avatar, your captain or whatever, is off the boat wandering around, talking to the different people in the city hubs, finding missions, things like that. Outposts is what they call them in Skull and Bones. And I think this is where some of the more impressive graphics that we saw were in this mode. So Johnny, any thought on the land sections and the outposts?
Well, I mean, it was the first thing I mentioned when we started the discussion on this game is how fucking gorgeous it is. I mean, this game is stunning. The god rays coming in through the light in the cave. There was one section where you're like inside a cave and the sun is sneaking through the cracks in the wall and you can see the dust particles. I mean, it's a really pretty game. This looks like a PS5 stunner next gen title. So this also makes me a little bit more excited about whenever we get a better look at Assassin's Creed Infinity, because if this is the fidelity we're looking at, oof, we're in for a fun time.
So the game comes out again November 7th. This is a next gen release, so it's $69.99 on release. There's a $100 deluxe edition or whatever. So I guess whenever we have Ubisoft, like this definitely looks like a game that's cool. I know a lot of people out there like seem angry about this game already and like really ready to write it off. And I don't understand why, because I don't see anything about the game that makes me go, this looks bad or anything. I think this is honestly a surefire fucking hit game, because it takes a system that everyone already likes and just builds a whole game around it. So I think the idea is fucking bulletproof, honestly. But a lot of people seem to be upset. I guess because it's a live service game, that it's a full price game. It's a full price release. That being said, we know that there's going to be microtransactions around the game. I mean, obviously.
That's concern number one for me.
Obviously, it's Ubisoft who's going to be microtransactions. And if you look at some of their other releases, like the Assassin's Creed series, those games you do get a leg up on the game based on microtransactions. However, Assassin's Creed is a single player game.
Yep.
And I don't think Ubisoft is dumb enough. They're a pretty smart company. They've been around for a long time. They seem to know what they're doing. They happen to have this other awesome series that does really well online called Rainbow Six, and they also had The Division, which is a live service game. So they have lots of proof that they can do microtransactions in an online service game without them being predatory. And I keep hearing people talk about this as though they know something that I don't, which they don't, that there's going to be some predatory component of this game. And I guess I'm wondering, like, is that coming from someplace specific with Ubisoft and an online game? I remember EA being the people that had predatory microtransactions in their online games, not that being Ubisoft. So are people's concerns warranted? Are they validated? Or are they valid, period? That this is something that they need to be concerned about with Skull and Bones when it comes out in a couple months.
I mean, in the back of my head, I did start thinking about, is it going to be you log in and there's the store and it's like, here's the new Mark 9000 cannon, the best cannon with the highest velocity, and it's available right now as a part of this $20 Elite Captains Pack. And you've made a good point that they didn't break the game with the microtransactions in Division or Siege. So that, and you're right, that's kind of changed my opinion a little bit. I do worry about, and we've discussed this on multiple occasions, the sort of built-in negative hype. Like, people want to hate on something because Team 1 is making it or Team 2 is making it. So it's like, when EA announces a game, Ubisoft releases a game, there's going to be some people that are just going to shit on it because it's made by Ubisoft or because it's done by EA. And that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
But
I feel like that's what's happening here. I mean, if
I totally think it's unwarranted hate at this point until the game comes out and we figure out, it's a big pile of shit.
Well, like, I'll eat
what they've shown us looks awesome.
I'll eat crow. Like, if, for example, you pay $5 and get materials you need to build something in the game, like that's totally crossing the line.
Or level ups in the store. Yeah, like if you're trying to get to Kingpin and you want to buy 10 levels of infamy, here you go.
That shit
$29.99 will boost you 10 levels.
I don't feel like Ubisoft doesn't know to not do that.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think really my biggest concern number 2 for this game is this game requires an active, thriving community. It's required for the game to really work the way it should.
To an extent. And
they're releasing it so close to God of War. I'm afraid they're going to Ghostwire Tokyo themselves.
I don't think so. I don't think this is for the same people as God of War.
I mean, but we've seen big developers fall dead.
Well,
with online only games.
Okay, but who can buy God of War? PS5 users. This game is coming out everywhere. It's coming out on PC. It's coming out on Xbox. Coming out everywhere.
Yeah, and one of my favorite things about their announcement with Skull and Bones is it supports full cross-platform and full cross-platform progression. So if your buddy's playing on a PlayStation and you got another buddy on an Xbox and you got another buddy on PC and you got another buddy on a PS5, you guys can all get online and can all play. I can play on the PC, and then when I'm sitting on the couch, I can fire it up, log into my account, and play it on the PS5. So I do really like that. But anytime a title like this comes out where it's a new IP, it requires online, I think about like Lawbreakers. I think about Battleborn. I mean, these were games that were coming out from big developers, and there was a lot of hype. And then you fast forward a month after release, nobody bought it because it was overshadowed by some other game, and it's dead. And that I worry a little bit about that. This is Ubisoft.
Ubisoft has like this weird cult, man.
Yeah.
You know, they really do. And I think the entire Assassin's Creed community, which is kind of like there's people that play games, and then there's people that like really play Ubisoft games. You know what I mean? And like I know from firsthand like how fervent a lot of the Assassin's Creed community is. Like people that basically just only play that. You know, Valhalla's out. That's all a sect of people are playing right now, even still.
Yeah.
So I think the Ubisoft like baked in communities got this one covered at launch.
I hope so.
I think with this being a live service game, you know, think of No Man's Sky, for example, live service game. That if it comes out and it's a little rough and people are distracted by God of War, that's maybe not a bad thing for them. That a game like this is sort of,
they're just going to keep on improving.
Well, a game like this is just going to stick around for a while. You know, it's coming out at full price. It's going to get some surges when it goes on sale. Do I think that I'm going to be the person that buys this in full price release day? Probably not, because I also don't like getting sucked into the hype of a live service game. That's like being trapped in the flush of a toilet, so to speak, where I'm good. But
launch day is a total buggy mess, and the servers are overloaded, and
then you're just competing with some kid that has no life to try and become the first kingpin. No. So I'm excited for the game. I can't wait to watch other people play it. I can't wait to play it myself, honestly. At least to some extent. If it's I would say once I get through God of War Ragnarok, this is probably, you know, in a slow release year, that is 2022. This is probably going to be the hot commodity, I'd say, for holiday this year. So Skull and Bones, a lot of people not talking real hot on it. But as per usual, I'm just taking the information that was given to me, guys. That's all I'm doing. And, you know, I think I see a hit game here, honestly.
I agree. And I think it looks like a lot of fun. And again, presentation, what they've given us is pretty stellar. You know, this wasn't a trailer where you're going, yeah, but they didn't give us any gameplay, or yeah, but it looks buggy. Like, no, this looks like a pretty rock solid AAA live service fucking pirate game. Why would you not be excited about that?
You look at the comments on IGN under this article I've read, and dude, people are just full of hate. People are full of hate. Something new, some new IP comes along, and all people want to do is fucking shit on it. It's out of control. So I'm ready to take a look at this game. Comes out again November 7th? Yeah, November 7th. So Skull and Bones. We won't have much more to say about it until we have our hands on it. So ladies and gentlemen, it is that time. We are finally on our final segment of the week. Johnny, that segment is, of course, called Ladies and gentlemen, that's right. It is now time for One Up. Johnny, why don't you get us started on this week's One Up? I've talked for long enough.
Sure. I want to talk about the RoboCop fucking trailer we got this week.
Looks sick.
RoboCop Rogue City by Nacon. And I believe this is developed by the same team that did the most recent Terminator game, the first-person shooter, that was reviewed fairly well. Mm-hmm. All I know is the as soon as I saw the UI and I saw, you know, the targeting from the movie, and like Mike and I are 80s kids, man. You give me something that looks and feels like RoboCop, we're probably going to be into it. And yes. I also am a huge fan of first-person shooters. So give me a first-person shooter that looks and feels like RoboCop. You probably have my money. So they didn't show us a whole lot, but they did show people's heads exploding, and they showed us what the first-person view looks like, and it looks and feels like RoboCop. So I'm officially excited about it. I think it looks awesome.
I also think it looks awesome. The fidelity is of the gameplay was pretty dope.
You can tell it's running very well.
Yeah, it's looking good. Again, it's not looking very Sonic Frontiersy. It's looking like things that you would want to show in a trailer. So very,
yeah, no, it looks awesome.
Very excited for the new RoboCop game. My one up this week is one that I wanted to spring on Johnny, so I didn't even put it in the notes. But Blizzard is officially ending content development for Heroes of the Storm. So Heroes of the Storm, it's on its last leg at this point. Blizzard will no longer be developing any new content for Heroes of the Storm. So get ready for that game to just sort of quietly and unceremoniously die. The end of the line is clear for Heroes of the Storm at this point. Obviously, you can still play it, and they still want you to spit money into that cash register, but that game is basically since day 2 had its dick kicked in by Dota and League of Legends. So not terribly surprising. I'm honestly not sure why it didn't get to that level coming from Blizzard. That was always a little curious to me.
I agree. Well, and especially, the thing that frustrates me is as a MOBA fan is as soon as Heroes of the Storm came out, I kind of lost interest in League of Legends because I enjoyed the simplicity of Heroes of the Storm as far as like not having to buy items and which item am I going to buy and not having to worry about last hitting minions. And I like the fact that your team levels up together instead of one person being 3 levels above everybody and just one-shots people. There's a lot of aspects, mounting up. I like the fact that you can mount up in the game. And another big thing with Heroes is the fact that every map has different objectives. I mean, here we are with League of Legends, fucking 10 years later? It's still 3 lanes to kill the turret. I'm going to go to the jungle. Oh, no, they got Baron. It's the same shit.
Where's my gank?
And like in Heroes of the Storm, there's so many different modes, there's the pirate map where you got to get these targets to get the coins, and you turn in the coins to have the ship fire at the enemy base. And there's just so many different modes in that game, and it's really a part of what makes it fun. And I'm bummed that it's gonna die because I really do like it. It's my favorite.
Well, you'll
MOBA.
still be able to play it. Okay, so don't.
No, I understand that, but I also know that it's on life support at this point. I've got 12 months, maybe 24 months before they just say, we're going to turn the servers off.
So here's the need to know, okay? And get ready to log back into your Heroes of the Storm account, honestly.
Okay.
So from Blizzard, moving forward, we will continue, we will support Heroes in a manner similar to StarCraft and StarCraft 2. So in the future, we'll continue seasonal roles and hero rotations. And while the in-game shop will remain operational, there are no plans for new for-purchase content to be added. Future patches will primarily focus on client sustainability and bug fixing, with balance updates coming as needed. As a token of Blizzard's appreciation, this is the part where Johnny Policy needs to pay attention, to its Heroes of the Storm's fans, it will make up for this decision by gifting the incredibly rare Epic Arcane Lizard mount to all players with next week's patch. So if you want your Epic Arcane Lizard mount, log in with next week's patch and claim that up. But yes, more or less, Heroes of the Storm, rest in peace. So on that incredibly uplifting note, that brings us to the end. Talking about the death of one of Johnny's favorite kids. That unceremoniously brings us to the end of episode 74 of the Power Gamer podcast. We will, of course, be back again next week with another great episode of the show. Until then, I'm Mike Dawson.
And I'm Johnny Paulus.
Tune in next time. Take care.
Smash that like button. Hit subscribe. Catch y'all on the flip-flop.
Oh, yeah.